Everyone. Today we are going to take a look at the archaic period of ancient Greece, and this is where wars and conflict happens. So your learning target for today is I can describe war and conflict in ancient Greece and analyze their results. All right, first let's take a look at the archaic period. So you'll see in your notes that the time period is from 800 to 480 approximately BCE. Now, these are a bunch of independent city-states at this time, so they're pretty much very independent from one another, and so they really competed for power and resources. So we're going to look at some of those resources just so you can kind of get a picture of the advantages of a lot of the city-states. You're going to pick three and just write the name of the city-state and the resource for three of them. All right, first of all, pottery. Pottery was big here in Corinth. It was something they traded a lot, but they also had materials to make it. So Corinth and pottery were resources there. Trade was a big thing in Athens. Athens was right over here, and you'll see that it was by a lot of water, and they were able to do a lot of trading because of their location near water. And they had a lot of good crops. Speaking of crops, like grapes and olives, Thebes was known for their fertile land, and they were able to grow a lot of crops. So Thebes right here. And so they just had a very strong marketplace, that agora, because they had such fertile land. Argos was known for lumber, and so they were strong in lumber, so good for building things. Rhodes, over here, the island of Rhodes, had a strong naval power, and so for them, they were a good navy, but they were also good with trade because of their ships. And then finally, Sparta. We all know Sparta was good. They were a military strength, and so that's kind of what their resources were, and Sparta is located over here. All right, this you don't have to take any notes on. It's just a little bit of background, but warfare was really important in Greek culture. It was seen as a way to gain wealth and honor. Military skill was really highly valued, and warriors were even celebrated a lot in art and literature. Okay, so let's look back at your guided notes. You have an image of a hoplite. So the hoplite and the phalanx were very, very innovative ways of fighting back during this time. And the hoplite was the actual soldier. And they were known for their first time that they had armor that was very, very protective. So they used metals for their armor. You can see here the helmet is made of a design that covers their head quite well. So if you want to point out the helmet, they did have their city-state emblazoned on the top of their helmet. Another thing they had was the breastplate that really protected their chest. So if they were to get stabbed, it was a protection, but it did weigh like 50 to 60 pounds. So this armor was quite heavy. Of course, they carried a short sword, a big shield, so you can label the shield there too, which was protective, and then this long spear here. Now, being a hoplite helped them to fight in this formation, which was really innovative, called the phalanx. And what happened is they would stand side by side, interlock their shields to create a wall, so you can kind of see how it looks in this picture. But the big deal was these spears. They were long, and they sort of kept the enemy away at a distance, so they weren't able to stab at them. Now, using this hoplite and this phalanx kind of allowed them to have a lot of conflict. So the first conflict we're going to talk about, although it's not the first conflict in order historically, but it's the Peloponnesian Wars. So the Peloponnesian Wars were from 431 to 404, and it was Sparta versus Athens. Almost all the Greek city-states were involved, and they allied with one side or the other. You can kind of see here, the orange is Athens, people who sided with Athens, and then the green are the city-states that sided with Sparta. And really, the end result of this was that it really weakened the Greek city-states. So it weakened the power of the city-state, it drained resources, Number 3, they lost a lot of people because of fighting. Soldiers died. And then 4th, it led to a lot of political instability. And this would allow for them to get taken over eventually. Now, prior to this, though, Persia was interested in ancient Greece. So if you look at this map, just think for a minute, why, based on what you know about ancient Greece, why might Persia want to conquer Greece? If you look here and kind of what we've talked about, so just jot that down. And then we're going to look further at the Persian Wars in our lesson. But basically, Persia wants them because they have access to a lot of waterways. It gives them more access to what's Europe over here. So this Persian Empire wants the resources, they want the access, and that type of thing. All right, there's 4 battles that occurred during the Persian Wars, and we're just doing an overview right now. So very quickly, the Battle of Marathon. Athens was pretty much at the forefront of that. So you can put Athens versus Persia. Athens wins. The second major battle in the Persian War was led by the Spartans. And interestingly enough, we'll kind of get into this one more in our lesson, but at Thermopylae, Sparta, Greece, led by the Spartans, they actually lost. So it was Sparta versus Persia, and the Greeks lost. Thirdly, there was a naval battle, so a great naval battle here. Greece was able to defeat the Persian navy. So it was Greece versus Persia in a naval battle, and Greece wins. And then finally, Plataea here, Greeks defeat the Persians, and that ends the war. Okay, so just to wrap it up, think about 2 things. How did the Peloponnesian War affect the Greek city-states involved? And secondly, with the Persian Wars, why do you think Persia might have been interested in conquering Greece? When you're done with that, you can check in your notes with your teacher and then move on to the next activity.